basically the whole 5 acres, and I'll tell you the story. But let's go here and start over here in the parking lot because there's things to see. So my mom's been here since the year 2000. She bought this place, and when she bought it, there was nothing here. So there's a little 50s farmhouse, and then this big monkey pod tree you see. It's one of our local trees.
Oh, that's what those are.
Big monkey pod, and then there's a really big golden shower tree behind it. But then everything else she planted. So you can imagine it's a very different property back then. It was cattle country,
Yeah.
cane grass, and invasive trees. And so, for example, these teaks and mahoganies, she planted those from seedling 20 years ago. Yep. And you know, she took a couple permaculture courses, she had some good mentors, and she just went for it. But she has a lot of energy, and she had a lot of help, and so she did a pretty good job. Planted a lot of food, a lot of different stuff that we're working with now. But here we are in the parking lot, and you can see over there, that's almost kind of a forest system, yeah? That's kind of a natural system. We really don't mess with it at all. In fact, I might go in there once a year. In a permaculture, that would be your zone 5. That's like your wilderness. Okay, we could go in there and manage that, and someday we will go there and start, cutting up these teaks, mahogany, shaping them up, dropping all that material, which create all this mulch, and then maybe we'd go back in there and plant some stuff. But it's pretty much in the shade, and I think we're just going to leave that be wilderness.
Did she start all those plants too? Okay.
She probably bought them for a nursery.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can do a lot. You can do a lot in the subtropics in 20 years, right? People think, oh my God, coconut's going to take me 10 years to harvest the coconuts if I plant that coconut. But in 10 years from now, you're going to be saying, man, I should have planted that coconut. So they say the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago, and the next best time is today, right? So let's go take a look at just the parking lot, because we can look at a few ideas that we're going to be seeing repeated throughout the walk, and that's this idea of meritocracy. This farm's a meritocracy. All the plants that are here have earned their spot because they're useful. So they either have nutrition or beauty or medicinal properties, or they're good for cordage or fiber, or they build great soil. But in some way, we're trying to stack functions so that the plants are doing as much of the work as possible, right? So let's go look at a little bit of how that works. I have 2 buddies that do tree work. So this is just shredded trees, and it's like the single best farming amendment that you could use. It's the only thing that I bring in from outside pretty much. And we could make our own here, but I don't have a chipper, so when they have a big load, I just say, hey, dump it. And man, this does it all for us. See 2 different kinds of grades. It's got a lot more palm in it. It's got kind of more fibrous, that's more wood, but it's all good. And it'll build pure black soil in like a year.
Wow.
Like really good soil.
Do you do any more with it, like amend it with anything?
We do everything with this. This is a base, and you'll see we use it in a lot of different ways. But I've got 2 nice piles now. Like when I see that, I can just kind of relax. Like that's like money in the bank for farming. Okay. So then we have some. Who knows what those are?
Bananas?
What kind of bananas are they?
The apple bananas?
Apple bananas. Where do apple bananas come from?
Like originally?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, we're famous for them here. When people come here, man, you guys have the best bananas.
Yeah.
Right? And they are. That's probably the premier eating banana, like a raw eating banana. Most of the world's bananas are cooking bananas, plantains, or different kinds of cooking bananas. Most of the Hawaiian, but this is probably the premier one for just eating, ripe fruit. But it comes from Brazil, and you're going to see that everything in Hawaii comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? Everything. Like this is basically a study in invasive species here. We are the most isolated landmass on the planet. There was nothing here pre-contact. And then humans came, and all the humans from all over the world brought their things, and now we have a mix, right?
Yeah.
A real mix. Some great, and some not so great. So those green geckos, some people love them, some people hate them. Those are Australian, but they're a very invasive, aggressive gecko species, and they've pretty much dominated the indigenous little tan ones that you might see sometimes at night. but you don't see much of them, and they're wiping out insect populations here.
Are these bananas vulnerable to the Cavendish banana disease?
I think they call that bunchy top. Is that what they call it? Bunchy top virus. We've never had that here, any of the problems with bananas. And we've got, 13 kinds of bananas, I think,
Okay.
including Cavendish.
That's good to know.
Yeah, we've never been affected by that.
Okay.
These are the original Brazilian apple banana. It's the tall one, the full-size one. And you can see it's a very tall, kind of a skinny banana. And it makes a very tasty but small rack of bananas. That's not the one you want to plant if you want to sell bananas. So you might think, why is it here, right?
Yeah.
So we'll look at that, okay, in just a second. How ripe is that rack of bananas? Do you think that's ready to go?
I don't think it started to turn yet.
Yeah, it hasn't started to turn. How about the shape? It's getting close, yeah? So this would be one I'd be keeping an eye on, right? If I harvested that, that's gonna form up nicely. That'll ripen up and be fine.
Yeah.
But they could definitely get fuller. You're right about that. Come and take a look under here. Look at another tree. We've got a few of these here. Who knows what that is?
Oh. Is that some kind of a breadfruit or something? Or?
It's similar to breadfruit. In fact,
Going crazy.
yeah,
It is.
this is a jackfruit.
Jackfruit. That's what it is.
And nobody knew about jackfruit, really, except, in the subtropics and stuff, until the vegans discovered that the pith makes a good meat substitute.
Huh.
Yeah,
Tastes like
it's
chicken?
it tastes like anything that you flavor it with. It just takes flavor really well and has consistency of pulled pork, pulled chicken.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they get 50 pounds, and they're fairly nutritious, and you still have the fruit and the seed. So this is a good one, for talk about stacked functions. It's also got really hard wood. It's a big tree, creates a lot of shade. Look what you see going underneath. What do you see?
Coconut?
Man, it's a little bit of everything. We've got sugarcane, bagasse, right? Pressed sugarcane after we press it for juice. This stuff's full of starches and sugars, right? We're gonna dump that. That goes right back in. That's gonna break down. If I look under here, it's gonna be really nice soil starting to form.
So
But
this is all that compost stuff that you
this is all really, this is pretty much the best stuff we got. This is grass clippings from the
Yeah.
mower and coconut husks. I mean, how much do they charge for coconut coir at the nursery? Very expensive, and that still has to be,
It'll keep all the moisture in the soil, definitely.
oh, definitely. And very hard for weeds to grow up under this much mulch, yeah? Again, it's pretty shaded out, so we wouldn't have that much of an issue with weeds anyways. But yeah, this is creating nutrition. This is how we're feeding this jackfruit tree. It's a great place to just dump all of it, okay? You can see. Let's move up here. And we're gonna take another look at these bananas. And you can see they're doing well, but look how they're, it's a really tall, small banana rack, right? Again, we've got that same idea of why would I grow these? And lots of them coming in, right? So this is my neighbor's property here.
With all the coffee on it?
With all the coffee on it. But it used to be abandoned lot, but you never know. You never know who your neighbor's gonna be. But what are the chances in Hawaii that they're doing practices on the other side, farming practices that I don't want on this side in Hawaii?
Oh, probably big.
Pretty high,
Spraying and stuff.
pretty traditional farming,
Yeah.
pretty traditional farming methods. So think about this. This is a banana that's not been well managed. I've left all the leaves on, right? It's kind of a big overgrown patch of bananas. But think of that as a biofilter. With all that surface area, filtering all the air that's passing. It's also filtering noise. It's also a huge block, privacy block, right? So this is my good neighbor wall. Man, great use for a banana. So, and this is the bonus. I get to still harvest bananas. They're delicious. In fact, these are tastier than the dwarf, which is the production one. A little bit tastier. But I get all this filtration, privacy, right? Visual break. And I still get to harvest bananas. And then every time I cut a banana down, every time I harvest a banana, I have to cut the whole tree at the base, right? So then I get the whole stalk and all that biomass to use for building soil.
So each just produces one fruit?
Each one's gonna produce one. And you can see, as soon as I take this one down, where's that one? That's this one. It's gonna create a little bit of air, a little bit of sunlight. and this one's going to grow up.
Okay. So it will self-propagate like that.
Yeah, it's actually the root.
Like a grass.
It's growing by rhizome like this,
Yeah.
like a grass, exactly. Exactly. So that's actually one plant,
Yeah.
one big plant. Okay. So yeah, so bananas is like the super workhorse of tropical farming. We grow bananas in order to grow vegetables, and the fruit is just a bonus. Okay. So think about that as we go through today, because you'll see that bananas are everywhere. And look, as you can see the stalks that we've harvested before. We take them and we split them, and then we lay them on the ground, and then within a couple of months, you can see it just starts to get really rich. Yeah, and the worms will actually come up into the bananas and start eating the banana stalks. So, and they're still filled with water, and there's no way grass is going up under that. So I'm getting added fertility, moisture retention, and weed management just by splitting that tree and laying it on the ground. So man, how many uses have we gone for the banana? It's like, that's one you want for sure. You know, you're gonna have your Hawaiian or subtropical farm. Bananas have got to be on that list of things you're going to get.
Do the bananas deplete the soil of anything?
No way.
Okay.
No,
I
because
know, like corn crops, which is another grass, they totally
they wouldn't
deplete
if they
the
took
soil.
all the remains and left there and let that break back down.
Yeah.
And they'd have to add a lot less. But it's
Yeah.
because they take it away, they burn it.
Right.
But this is
Taking all the
producing
nitrogen.
way more biomass. I have to take
Yeah.
mass out of here
Right.
because it's just too much. I mean, the soil there is like this. It's like
Yeah.
the mulch is this thick, and then soil going down. This if we ever cut these bananas down, this will be the most fertile part of our farm.
Right.
And we'd come with a tractor and plow that all down and use all that mass to build huge gardens down below. And then this area would start to sprout up again. It would be incredibly productive in that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a strategy you could definitely do. You'd have to get the bananas out of there. You might need some machinery for that. The roots are pretty massive.
A flowering plant right here.
It's a shell ginger. We've got many varieties. It's basically a botanical garden. My mom's an artist. So when she went around, she's like, oh, let me get the gingers with the pretty pink shapes, and then it's all aesthetic.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the botanical gardens around the house.
Yeah.
I moved here 10 years ago. I didn't, I loved all the beautiful plants, but it's still a lot of maintenance. My mom walks around nonstop with her shears, and she's all day long and dumps it on the ground, right? If I'm gonna have to manicure plants, they should produce food. I mean, beauty is great. Beauty is a function, but just beauty, it's like, come on, grow some food. So we have actually started bringing more food back into the landscape. So you can see this is a perfect example of something I would call edible landscaping. This is a beautiful plot. Let's come down and look at this. It's a plumeria tree, and then she had tons of shell ginger here. And we had a couple of strong kids on the farm, and she took a project and said, remove all of this. And they went and they piled it over there. And then the farm manager came back in and he planted these bushes that you see here. Can you see them? It's Jaboticaba, Suriname cherry, Jaboticaba, Suriname cherry, Jaboticaba. Okay, you guys know what the Jaboticabas or Suriname cherries are? Exactly. They're berries. But berries are really a cold weather phenomenon, aren't they? So here we are in the subtropics. It's not really berry elevation, berry latitude. But they grow berries in India and Brazil at similar latitudes. So you have to find the right varieties. These are different tropical berries. Suriname cherry is this wonderful kind of acerola. Like it's a berry shaped kind of like a blackberry. It's a little bit astringent, really juicy. There's different colors. The black ones are the best. And they make incredible jam. And they're really productive. Jaboticaba, well, I'll show you one that's going off right now. It's like a Concord grape, but it grows on the stem. It's not quite as good as a Concord grape, but it's really abundant, and it produces 2 or 3 times a year and makes great wine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got this stuff. So you can see he's got these little nests of, what is this stuff? This is all banana fronds and banana stalks. Look at it, banana stalks, banana stalks. The worms are coming up and eating this stuff. What do you think they're doing to the fertility of this area? Man. And then he gave a little bonus. He filled it in with wood chips. That's also breaking down over time. It's also keeping us from having to weed this area. And then look what he did in between all that, because you gave it all this love. He planted taro, our main starch, right? It's a tuber like a potato. Here it is, popping up. You can see them starting to pop up here in all the little holes. they're going to get about this big, and this is going to be all taro. You're not going to see these for a while. And then 7, 8 months, we'll harvest all that taro, it'll kind of die back, and these guys then will be this big. Okay, and these are spaced ideally for when they're big. But at this time, there's all this land here. We're giving this area some love. We might as well plant some food too. Okay. So these are beautiful plants that also are edible, and I think, you know, stack more functions. All right, let's move through into the garden. Okay, here we are. Look at this. Here we are with the dwarf apple banana. You can see it's got a different tail, yeah? Yeah. This is the flower, right? The Filipinos, they make a nice pickle out of this. And you can see those are all the bananas that didn't swell. So you can see the potentiality of this banana, of this rack, is like a 7-foot rack. Maybe in Alaska with the right minerals and the right 24-hour day craziness and the right amount of water, you might get a rack that's like another 2 feet, 100-pound apple banana rack. I've never seen one. These are some of the biggest racks I've seen, but that's the potential of this plant. Okay, so we haven't even tapped out half of it almost. And you can see the way they unravel. You can see these ones didn't quite get enough of what they needed, right? But all these ones did, and those are going to swell.
What pollinates the banana?
That's a good question. They're self-pollinating,
Okay.
but they don't really pollinate because they don't produce seed. So they're actually growing from rhizome. And if you remember the old bananas, I don't know if you remember eating bananas, they have those black dots inside. Those are actually seeds, but they're not viable because we've bred them so that they're not, we're growing them from rhizome. Okay? But that's the part you would pickle. And that's a nice big one. You can see how it can make kind of a nice, almost like a cabbage.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah? So you could do kind of a sauerkrauty thing. There's different uses for this, and it's medicinal as well. Also makes a nice dye, kind of a dark brown dye. So how many functions we got for apple bananas? Man, we got a lot. Okay, and you'll notice this is a shorter banana, so it's going to get there in half the time. And then look at the amount of biomass I have to work with afterwards. I mean, this is almost a little bit too much. Cutting these down is work. And then splitting that thing up, I have to carve out the bottom, it's work. But the result is that you get this amazing planting material. Okay, cool. Let's move on in the garden and look at how productive this this clump of bananas is. It's really impressive. Come on in here and just count how many 30, 40-pound racks of bananas you can see in this one clump. Okay, so you can see this banana is really happy. It's going off right now. And you can see this one's more well managed than the other one. We went and came here to manage maybe a couple months ago. You can see we cleared out. You can see through it for one. There's air. That means there's also dappled sunlight getting in there. More, it's going to breathe better. And also we thin them out. They're in little clumps, little families. Okay, they could be thinned out more. They grow very quickly, but that's going to allow for bigger, healthier banana racks. Take a look. So here we have compost piles. We're building soil. And this was kind of a 2-3 step process. We built up a big compost pile, and then my mom had some people working with her, and they came through a bunch of invasive vines in the pile, which took over the whole pile, this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then we took all that stuff out, put it over there, made a pile of it, just invasives, and then we reordered this one, and now this one's starting to look nice. It's breaking down. It's going to be
Pretty warm in the middle.
I'm gonna guess no. It's probably beyond being active now. It's probably calmed. That's probably 90 degrees.
That looks good.
Yeah. So parts of it are ready. You know, it'll be. You know, you're looking for that dark brown color. We're looking at insects in here. When I look at a pile, you'll see that it goes through different stages. And this needs to really break down a few more months. But as it gets near ready, I'm gonna see the millipedes. They're red and kind of long, and they'll be all over it, and they'll be like these. These are little baby millipedes. And they're going to do their work, and then at the end they'll leave, and then it'll just be worms. And the worms basically leave it all as castings, and then it's like, just, if you can wait that long, 6 months, 7 months. Sometimes we get impatient. We rush it a little bit. This is all cherry pulp from the coffee. Yeah, coffee cherries pulped that have been put back in. We ferment it first because of the pests. Look, and some of it still sprouts. It's a really hardy plant. It's why we grow it in Kona, right? Some places have no soil, you're growing it right in the lava rock. Look at this, in the compost pile, this coffee with no sun is ready to go.
Yeah.
Really hardy plant. So we'll have really nice soil coming here, maybe 2-3 months. This is our first big orchard. It's a full-size orchard. It's like the first orchard my mom planted. And we'll take a look at that a little bit. But up here on this border, what are these?
Like some kind of bromeliad.
It is a bromeliad, exactly. So we have thousands of bromeliad. When I first moved here, this place was like bromeliad farm.
I bet.
The problem with bromeliads is they hold water. When the dengue thing hit, people got really scared of mosquitoes. We tend not to worry about disease and stuff here because we're incredibly we build our immune systems up really strong. We don't really get sick. We didn't fear the dengue, but the mosquitoes were a pain, and so we did get rid of almost all the bromeliads around the house. But you know, bromeliads are decorative, they're beautiful, but this is a bromeliad that's beautiful. It really doesn't hold too much water, and it grows pineapples. It's like, that's the bromeliad you want near the house. That's the one you want near the house, right? So white pineapples, this is gonna be awesome. In, how long does it take for a pineapple to come ripe? Take a guess.
5 years.
5 years. That would be the most expensive fruit on the planet. 2 years. 2 years. Yep, and the white ones, you've had the white pineapples?
I think one. Yeah,
So people usually get the Maui Golds, the yellow pineapple. It's a good pineapple. People are like amazing. And then they taste a white pineapple and it's like, wow. Like what a difference. Yeah, amazing. Okay, so you can see pineapples are spiky. It takes 2 years to grow pineapple. It's not something you want to weed, but in 2 years, I'm gonna have to weed this, 10 times? So you wanna make sure you grow pineapples with lots of mulch. You can see we have a thick layer of bananas and grass clippings, and already I can see if I don't get in here, I'm gonna be weeding in this spiky banana patch, right? And this pineapple patch. So you gotta think about how long things take. You can see a nice border of, again, banana logs, right? Creating fertility on the border. Come look at this. Come take a look at this. You're just not going to believe it. I mean, it's just, we talked about the compost pile and how the millipedes come in and then the worms, and then you get black soil. Well, let's take a look at that in action. There it is. Do you see what that is? That's worm castings. That's not even soil. That's pure worm poop. You can see there's the millipedes. They're kind of doing their thing. There's the little babies. But the worms are coming in and out of this thing. This thing was like this. And they've eaten away the middle, okay? Same here. This one now, I can even see this one's even farther along. Look at the earthworms. See that?
Yeah.
Just jumping out of the soil. So I didn't have to do anything to amend this soil. I just put the banana stumps on it. The soil amends itself and becomes the best soil you can possibly make, which is worm castings. You could do nothing better than to grow pure worm castings. So come on over here. And here oh, wow, we're in for a treat. Just worked out this way. Let's go ahead and step under here. Watch your head, come on all the way over here. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please subscribe down below, hit the thumbs up, and tune in next time because we're gonna be talking about food forest systems. We're gonna be looking at some exotic berries and checking out some different ways of growing coffee. So tune in and I'll see you next week.